structure rather than the higher structure. We talk to landlords about that, and if they are willing and we can work that out with them, but we don't need to do that. It's more something to just make it a better design, for that landowner.
So what will the pay with the towers?
Most of the distance between 85 and 95 feet. We've greatly reduced the higher structures that were around 130 feet. We still need some of them where the terrain requires it, but we've greatly reduced the most common size will be 85 to 95 feet.
Early on in the process of the original proposal, we're talking about having an MOU with Hydro-Quebec that would establish a certain percentage of the electricity that would be used. Are you still talking to them about that?
Yes, it's still something that we desire and would like to make happen. It's still under development. This is a power purchase agreement to use some of the power specifically for PSNH and our customers.
And that would lower the cost specifically for New Hampshire.
That would be an added benefit to the benefits that I presented to you this morning. That would be yet another benefit, but we think it would be a very nice addition to the PSNH's power supply portfolio that we have today. So we would certainly like to enhance our power supply portfolio to be a higher percentage of renewable, and it's our intention to do that.
You keep using the term renewable. Are you actually planning to ask that New Hampshire declare this?
We have no plans to change the current New Hampshire law. To make this renewable, the project does not require it. However, it is a renewable power source, so it does really go to the energy policy of New England as far as bringing in new renewable energy into New England. I think that's why some of the other states are showing great interest in this project because of its renewable quality.
So, on the subject of the Senate Bill 99, how do you see that affecting your plans for the next month, year or two, to go forward while people are studying, redoing the SEC process, the permitting process? Do you see any problems there?
Well, I mean, as far as studying and conversation, I think that's a constant thing. And, that happens constantly. You're going to continue to have discussions. I guess the point is that this project is proposed and designed to meet all the requirements of current law. And given the huge benefits that it provides to New Hampshire, I don't think there should be any law passed to hurt it. If anything, there should be laws passed to help move it along faster. I think that would be to New Hampshire's benefit. But yes, there is New Hampshire is looking into how does it address these New England issues. And I think the simple one of the answers is with this Northern Pass project.
You spent about $15 million this year buying land to get you down to the Connecticut headwaters, connect your two pieces. I have two questions. What happens to that land now that you bought that's not on this route? And second, if this route affects fewer people and less visual, why not have gone that way instead rather than spend the $15 million?
Well, first of all, it's a line, so you have to be able to go from point A to point B in a continuous way, and that's what this route does. There are other routes we could have pursued. We could have tried to acquire more land. There's also, the Connecticut headwaters. We could go under 100 feet there and have no impact on the land or the easement, but that hasn't been anything that's been agreed to. So we think this route meets all the requirements. It has the lower visual impacts. We do have properties that may not be used for this project. It's not unusual for utilities to have properties that they hold for potential future use, or they just have acquired in the course of a project. There's other uses that can be put to that property if we don't use it for this. It can be put to recreational use, for instance. So, I think so. It hasn't been decided what the ultimate disposition would be, but for now we own it and intend to keep to remain owning it.
So, have you talked with the selectmen, we'll say Stark or Northumberland? Do they have any clue that they're now going to be on the main street for this proposed?
There's been many discussions with many communities, and there's discussions happening today as we speak with some of those communities. and there will be more in the future. So I think it's a continuing dialogue. Obviously, with this public announcement, we can have much more public and open discussions with everyone.
Do you already have the this route permit set to the agreed upon with the Department of Energy? Is that already
There has to be a new filing, an updated filing with the Department of Energy that hasn't occurred yet. There obviously has to be a detailed filing with the New Hampshire Site Evaluation Committee, which I said would be done next year. So this is really part of, like I said, an update of the project to report on the route that we're moving forward with. And we'll have more discussions, more engineering studies, more environmental studies that have to be done before we can make our final New Hampshire filing.
when will the filing happen with the DEP?
We'll be updating that within the next few days.
For the parts you're going under the river along state roads, who do you have to get okays from in the state? Is it DOT? Is it DRED? When will that happen?
Well, it is the Department of Transportation is involved with any use of state roads, as towns are involved with any use of town roads. But it all ultimately goes under the review of the State Site Evaluation Committee.
So that would be something you would pursue sort of officially next year with the filing there?
Oh, we would begin discussions immediately with those entities, and then once the formal filing is made, there would be public hearings and review and oversight. That always happens. I mean, it will all be very public. The review process will all be very public.
So tell me about exactly where you're going to be crossing from Canada into the United States.
It's in Pittsburgh. I can't tell you the exact location, but we own land. We own land that borders Canada.
So it will be in something
It'll be on land that we own that borders Canada.
and you have rights of way.
Well, it's our land, so it's.
But I mean, from there to any other point, I mean, there's no problem there. That's all done.
Again, it's property that we own, which is several miles of property here that we own. And when we design the line, we can do it in a way that even though it's property we own, we can do it in a way where the line is not visible, and we can do it with the lowest possible structure. So the advantage of having the property itself, which has many more acres than we actually need for a right-of-way, is that we have great flexibility in design.
I think the critics today might say, why do you have no one from the North Country here celebrating this, since you say you have some community support? So could you respond to that?
There are, I'll tell you, there are people here today that represent workers that up there. We do have community support. We didn't ask them to come down because we're continuing to build it. This is new information for many people up there, and so now, as I said, the outreach will continue in earnest. So it's really to give it more time to have discussion.
So you see that the speakers you did have were reflecting on the project as a whole rather than specific to one?
Well, sure. They support the project because of the use and the economic benefits for New Hampshire labor. And we've had outreach in the North Country with several, as I said, contractors, people who could work on the project. It's been very well received. But no, we did not have a specific effort to try to get a greater number of people speaking today. I think that will be that will just grow and grow as time goes on.
Gary, the $200 million additional cost, new plan versus old plan, how much of that is related to the barrier? You said much.
Most of it.
Most of the 200?
Yes. There's some other detailed adjustments we've made as we've gone from higher to lower structures. That costs some money also. So it's a combination of several things, and it may change a little bit more in the future, but we think we have a growing, solid, detailed design so that the numbers are tightening up. But underground is very expensive, and that's why you have to use it judiciously.
Can you describe what the community outreach will be like in the North Country? Will you have town meeting style meetings?
Well, it's the open houses that I discussed in my presentation. That is a primary way to work directly with the project folks, the designers, the technical. That's where folks can get visual simulation of what it looks like. They can get detailed information. So that is, that could be abutters, residents, it could be public officials. could be the media. It's really where you can get a lot of detailed information. So I think that would be a primary source. The DOE will have public hearings. That's another source.
All right, we got time for a couple more, and then we'll wrap it
I want to
up.
ask who the biggest landowner is on the new.
Well, I would say it's the Wagner properties,
that's
which go on the westerly side of the route that connect our existing grid to property we own up by Dixville.
So
That would be the
that's
largest.
someone you had an MOU with them.
We have an agreement. We have an easement from
And
them.
it's not so you didn't have to change that existing arrangements that you had with Wagner?
Well, that is a very new arrangement compared to the announcement in 2010.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, in 2010, that route did not exist. Those rights were not acquired. So we've
So this
acquired
is
those rights
new.
since. Yes.
So in addition to what you already had, you have a new arrangement.
We have new easements and we have new ownership of property. So it's a combination of those things that complete the route.
So with Wagner, you didn't buy any Wagner land.
No, it's an easement.
It's an easement.
Do you have any idea, Gary, how many acres you've bought that you don't now need for the project that might be available for other purposes?
It's in the thousands.
Thousands.
It's in the thousands of acres. This is why I really consider us a very good partner. If for people who are interested in land preservation, for people who are interested in recreational use, we have substantial land up north that we can work with others to make use of it in the way they want. And I think so that we're willing to do that, and we're hoping people realize that.
Gary, you mentioned about 2 years ago about the cost of burial would be about 10 times as expensive. So to bury the whole thing, we're basically saying would be about $10 billion or more.
Yeah, just think about that. This project stretches economics because as we all know, the wholesale price of electricity have gone down, the project costs have gone up. So it really makes it difficult for the project developers. It needs to be economic in order for it to happen, or nobody gets a benefit from it. So obviously, if you go from $1 billion to $10 billion, there's no project. I mean, you cannot do underground and still have a project. So we've been trying to be judicious and use it where it makes sense. We're going to have the greatest impact on views.
It's still the case that it's 10 times more expensive to bury lines.
5 to 10 is
5 to 10.
yes, it's a very common result. It depends on terrain, the typology, what kind of construction challenges you might have, but it's 5 to 10 times higher.
We got time for one more. Anybody? Martin and I will be around to answer any other questions you guys have. We've got everybody get the kit, all the materials. We're going to send you a link too that has it all, the digital.